can sit down. Good evening. I'd like to call the regular Temple City City Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Fish,
Here?
Councilmember Mann,
Here.
Councilmember Chavez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist,
Here.
Mayor Yu.
Here. Mr. Jambasian will lead us with the invocation. Mr. Jambasian is the owner of Wonders Cleaners and Draperies, and he's been doing business in the city for 61 years, and his business is located at 9136 Las Tunas Drive. Thank you, Mr. Jambasian.
Sure.
Please rise.
Thank you. Let's bow our heads in prayer. Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for the many and abundant blessings you give to us. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for subsistence and for friendships. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thank you for loving us, even so, from your boundless and gracious nature. In the scriptures, you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor and our council members, for the various levels of city officials in particular, for this assembled council, including City Manager Brian Cook, City Attorney Eric Vale, and City Clerk Peggy Coe. I am asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and righteousness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives, and joy in the task. I pray for the agenda set before them tonight. Please give them the assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Temple City. We live in an imperfect world today. Father, I would close my prayer in honor of those who protect and serve us, such as our armed services around the world, our firefighters, and all the law enforcement officers, including hurting family members of recent slain officers. It's in your most blessed name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Next item is ceremonial matters. Tonight, we have a quarterly report from the Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Peter Choi, the President and CEO, will make a presentation.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Yu, City Council, City staff, Temple Cityans. I'm Peter Choi. I'm the President of the Temple City Chamber of Commerce, here with a quarterly report. I would like to start with a recognition that normally ends these sorts of reports, but it's a measure of how important this person has been to the Chamber. It's someone that many people in this room know well, but she has been, like I said, an important part of the Chamber. The Chamber of Commerce, at the end of the day, is about people. Even though we are a business organization, a local small business or professional, it's people. The staff are people. Our members are people. And this is one person who has been invaluable to the Chamber. When I look back on my time here, she has been an essential link. And she has also predated me. She was a volunteer with the Chamber before. Unfortunately, sadly, she will be leaving us. And she's a longtime Temple City resident, went to school here. And so I have told her this in person myself, but I take great pleasure in humiliating her and acknowledging her in public. Janice Helmer, thank you very much for the Chamber, for your service to this organization, to the city. As you all, many of you know, she's smart, she's funny, but the thing I like best about her, and I think many people here may know this as well, is that she was comfortable speaking her mind. and sharing her opinion. And I found that her opinion was always really good to hear. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Janice, and best of luck in the next chapter of your life. We had our Eat and Meet lunch mixer on September 14th at Clearman's Northwoods Inn. I mention this simply because they are celebrating their 50th anniversary. And so, support them, have some cheese bread and a nice cut of meat. 50 years is a milestone, and we congratulate Chamber Member Northwoods Inn. Thank you to Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist and City Council Member Nan Fish for joining us for the Eat and Meet lunch and mixer, and we look forward to our next one in a little time. I hold here a pink wiper blade. Chamber Member Valvoline, located on Rosemead, just south of Las Tunas, this month in October are selling pink wiper blades to support the fight against breast cancer. A portion of the proceeds will go to fighting the good fight. It's this month. And if the color of Pepto-Bismol, it does not go well with your car, they do sell a more sedate black wiper with just a touch of pink. That's what's on my car. So I hope that you will go support and fight the fight. We had a little rain. There may be more rain coming. It's the fall and winter, so get ready. And what better time than this month and do some good while you're doing it. That's Valvoline. This Saturday, coming Saturday, October 22nd, Wushu Action Star Academy is celebrating their 5th year anniversary. For any small business, once you get past the first 2 years, you're in business. If you can get past the first 2 years, you're doing well. And they are celebrating their 5th anniversary. They're right here on Las Tunas. Saturday, October 22nd, you are all invited. 11 o'clock, there'll be a martial arts demonstration. At 12 noon, there'll be refreshments. They're at 9657 Las Tunas. One quick note about Jing Li, the owner and major martial arts instructor. She's a dynamic woman, a mom, a business owner, but she's also a martial arts expert who works in Hollywood, has been a technical advisor, a stunt coordinator. She has herself performed in martial arts films. Quick anecdote, many are familiar with the Snow White sequel, Huntsman Winter's War, starring Jessica Chastain and Chris Hemsworth. Jing Li trained Jessica Chastain in her weaponry and martial arts, trained her for a long time, and then when it was over and Jessica Chastain was ready to go to London to shoot the movie, she said, Jing Li, you should come with me and be my stunt double because we have a good mojo and you're so great and you're the same height. And Jing Li told her, I'd love to, but I can't because I'm 4 months pregnant. That tells you something about the character of Jing Li. Come meet her and the rest of her staff and enjoy a little demonstration on Saturday, October 22nd. Another quick note for Temple City First United Methodist Church. They are doing a disaster preparedness presentation in conjunction with the Red Cross. You'll learn how to put together an emergency kit, make a plan, be informed. This is Saturday, November 5th, 10 to 12 at Fellowship Hall, 5957 Golden West. There's been a lot of activity in the San Andreas Fault, as you may have heard. So it's a good time to get your supplies in order, and a great opportunity. Their timing could not be better. Attend, find out what you need to know, and have your house in order for when the big one hits. On the agenda tonight, under New Business 10A, I would like to take this opportunity. This is regarding the proposed new development terraces at Temple City. I would like to speak in support of that very quickly here and say the Chamber strongly supports this development. I attended the Planning Commission meeting where they presented. They will be presenting tonight, so I won't add to that. I will simply say that we think the Chamber believes that this will be a very positive addition to the city. It'll be a great revitalization to the downtown corridor. We can see the residents of the 60 units walking to Las Tunas to patronize the restaurants and businesses. The lack of entrance on Temple City helps the traffic. I get my haircut at Temple City Barbershop right across the street. And I told Jose and the gang about this proposed development across the street, and they were super excited. And I think their neighbors were as well. So we share that excitement. We look forward to their presentation. They did a great job at the Planning Commission, so I'm not concerned about their presentation tonight. But the Chamber strongly supports it, and we think it'll be a very good thing, not just for the business community, but for the city at large. On Wednesday, October 12th, the Temple City Sheriff's Station held a fundraiser for the family of LA County Sheriff Sergeant Steve Owen, who was shot execution style in Lancaster. They just had his funeral service the other day. He was a 29-year veteran of the LA County Sheriffs who had previously won the agency's highest honor. He was the first sheriff's deputy fatally shot while on duty in more than a decade. They had a fundraiser. Board Chair Ed Chen, past Board Chair Judy Hoy Mena, and myself, we attended. We bought raffle tickets. We bought a barbecue lunch. You can still, if you missed that and you would like to support the Sheriff's family, you can still support by buying a ticket to win an M&P 9mm Shield NTS pistol. Tickets are $20 a piece, and the drawing is October 27th down the line. Or you can donate directly. So help the Temple City Sheriffs. Help the Sheriff's family. For more information, you can contact Deputy Jason McGinty at 626-285-2171, extension 3275. Upcoming, we have our annual awards gala on November 5th, and we're super excited to be able to hold it at a venue here in Temple City. It will be at the new Korean barbecue restaurant, Kangodong Baekjeong, in the new Camellia Square Shopping Center. We're excited to have our guests, possibly for the first time, enter the Camellia Shopping Center and experience it. But we're really excited to honor 5 outstanding people that I'd quickly like to mention here. Our outstanding professional is Tony J. Tyre of the Tyre Agency. He's an attorney at law. What's great about recognizing Tony J. Tyre, he's a second-generation Temple City professional. Has joined his father, Stephen Tyler's firm with his brother, and we're just excited about that. Anytime the second generation stays in Temple City and continues the business, it's a good thing for the city, for the business community. Our outstanding restaurant is Ahi Poke Bowl, which I know many of you are familiar with because I see city staff and men and women in uniform and others there when I eat there. Ahi Poke Bowl, great restaurant. Business Beautiful is for that business organization that has done the most this year to increase the beauty of the city's business community, and the winner was an easy one. It's Camellia Square Shopping Center with the Teapot Fountain, with the buildings, with the community space, with the free Wi-Fi, with the restaurants opening every week. We encourage everyone to go see it. Our local small business, outstanding small business, again, very excited to recognize a local Temple City small business, SoCal Termite Solutions, and Glenn Duggar, the owner. You got termites, you got pests, you got bug problems, you want to call SoCal Termite Solutions. Does a great job. Very excited to recognize a kind of business that often does not get the attention it deserves. And for our 5th and final, it's a community leader, and this is for a non-business individual who has done a lot to improve the civic life of the city. This year's honoree is someone very special, not just to the Chamber, but to many, many people who volunteer and are active in the community, Cynthia Vance. And we look forward to recognizing her and the 4 others on November 5th. Tickets are $50. You can buy 2 for $90, but the prices go up after October 20th. Call the Chamber office. Very quickly, I'd like to recognize our 3 new board members that joined this year that we'll be installing. Any organization in a city needs to reflect the community that it is part of. And we're very excited that our board of directors very much does that. Our 3 new board members this year are Jackie Zhang, who's a business specialist at the Wells Fargo right here in Las Tunas. He brings that expertise to our board and our discussions. Joe Chia of New York Life, who has been our ambassador delivering welcome baskets to the new businesses in town. That sort of active board member is something we really enjoy having. And a young member, newest member, just joined last week, joining the board, Doris Tsai of Edward Jones. Grew up in Temple City, went to school in Temple City, currently works out of the Edward Jones office in Whittier, but is joining because they're going to be opening an Edward Jones office again here in Temple City. So for that reason, and also because she is a local. She's a local girl doing well, and we're excited to have her and install her at our event. I will say that our beneficiary this year for our annual awards gala is the Temple City Library. There are exciting plans ahead, and a portion of the proceeds from our silent auction will be going to the Temple City Library through the nonprofit Friends of Temple City Library organization. Very quickly, I'd like to recognize our new members this quarter. And I looked at this list, and it really reflects how diverse our membership is. And it gives you a sense of the kind of activity we have behind the facade of a business organization. Rendezvous Cafe, a new coffee shop right here on Las Tunas, Love to have the small businesses join. And Rendezvous Cafe is a new coffee shop right here. Excited to have them. 986 Pharmacy. Again, another small business right on Las Tunas. Thank you, Mayor Yu and the City Council and our City Manager Brian Cook and others who joined us for the grand opening. Maranatha Church of the Nazarene and Pastor Felix Nam. We have many churches who are members of the Chamber, and we appreciate their voices and their input on matters impacting us. The Temple City Camellia Festival, we know that well. Darasai, we have already recognized. Chengdu Jingli, a new restaurant in Camellia Square. And Asian Rehabilitation Services. ARS is a nonprofit that works to place autistic and disabled people and match them up with jobs. Interestingly enough, they originally had their office in Los Angeles. They're moving out to the San Gabriel Valley, and they chose to join the Temple City Chamber of Commerce because of our activities, because of what we can do for them, and our central location. This is the main thing we let people know about opening a business in Temple City. It's just like real estate. It's location, location, location. We are in the center of the west economically vibrant San Gabriel Valley, equidistant from the 134, 210 down to the 10 freeway. We have major streets going through us, and that is why we are seeing Camellia Square Shopping Center businesses opening, these businesses opening, and we welcome them to join the chamber so we can help promote them and help them do well. Finally, I'd like to end this report with a short 2-minute video that we have. As many may know, Camellia Square Shopping Center is open. It was great to see the mayor, city council, our city manager, our community development director, Mr. Michael Forbes, at the grand opening. Businesses are opening almost every week there now. There are still new ones coming in. It was 5 years ago that I started, almost exactly 5 years ago, that I started my position here as the president of the chamber. That was December 2011. 2 months later, in February 2012, our then board chair, Nick Pond, and I traveled to China to address investors and encourage them to invest in this shopping center. We have worked with Mr. Wang and Mr. Lee and others to help them in any way we can. We share the excitement of the city council, city staff, and the city at large that the shopping center is finally open. Certainly it seems that the documentary filmmaker Ken Burns could do a 6-part miniseries on the history of the shopping center development and all the twists and turns from Piazza to Gateway and now Camellia Square. That would be a show to watch. But instead, we can simply celebrate that it is open. We encourage people to check it out. It is more than a shopping center, it's a community space. There's free Wi-Fi, it's a place to hang out. There are outdoor seating areas. We created a 2-minute video that was produced by the Chamber to help promote and introduce people to the center, let them know. This video has received 1.7 thousand views on our Facebook page, which shows that the interest extends well beyond the people we know and that it is a great interest. So if the city clerk will play the video, and I'll turn these lights down. It's only 2 minutes long. Our sound.
It's a celebration. It's a celebration. Celebrate good times, come on.
That concludes the Chamber's report. Mayor Yu.
Thank you, Mr. Choi.
Thank
Very
you.
nice report. Next, I would like Director Kathy Barrows would help us introduce our newest staff, Mr. Steve Lawson, our Parks and Rec manager.
You just did it for me. Thank you, Mayor Yu. It's indeed my pleasure to introduce our newest staff member. Our Parks and Recreation Manager, Steve Lawson, began last week, so I'd like to give him an opportunity to tell you a little bit and the community a little bit about himself and his first week at work. Thank you.
Of course, I have to adjust everything. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I'm very excited and thankful to be part of the Temple City team. Like Kathy said, I've only been here for about a week and a half, but it's very obvious and glaring to me that the city has an outstanding, positive work environment, and also the Parks and Recreation Department, of which I'm just very thankful to be a part of. A little bit about myself. I'm married. I have two sons. One's 18 years old. The other one is 12. My 18-year-old just went off to college, so we're dealing with that. But I've worked in the industry for over 19 years from both the part-time and full-time capacity. I've worked for the cities of Corona, Glendora, a few cities in Orange County on a part-time basis. So, like I said, just very excited to be here. I've met some of you, a lot of staff citywide, and just impressed and thankful and excited to do great things with everybody and just looking forward to it. So thank you for having me, and again, looking forward to working with everybody. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Lawson. Okay. We now move on to public comments. I think there's only one speaker request. I'd like to call up Mr. Eugene Sun.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council. I'm here tonight not to tell you the score of the Dodgers and Cubs, but if you want, I'll be happy to text you the score. And I guess I should have talked to Mr. Choi earlier. The reason for I'm here tonight is I'm inviting the City Council and the City Manager and the Chamber to attend the grand opening of a great restaurant, former Zen Buffet, at the corner of Broadway and Rosemary Boulevard. They've been closed for about 2 months. They have done complete remodeling and also revamped the menu. They provide fresh meat, vegetable, and poultry, and seafood. So they use steam to cook. You prepare your own sauce. The grand opening will be Thursday, October 27th. At noon. I know many of you are still holding a daytime job, but I hope that you can make it during lunchtime. And I'm going to send you individual invitation by email, but I want to be here so I can invite you in person. Lastly, I want to tell you my experience with your planning and building department is excellent. I have to be compliment. They are professional. They are also very courteous. So you may want to tell them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sun.
Thank you, Eugene.
Appreciate it. Next item is, anyone else want to address the City Council? Seeing none, I'll close public comments. Next item is consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be approved in a single motion as recommended.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
It is moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Chavez.
Yes.
Councilmember Fish.
Yes.
Councilmember Mann.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist.
Yes.
Mayor Yu.
Yes. Right, consent calendar has been approved. Next item is public hearing. There is one, but it's also a new business, so 8 and 10 are really combined. So I'll move on to item number 9, unfinished business. There is none. And here we are, the public hearing and also new business. A request for conditional use permit, a tentative track map, and a major site plan review for the construction of a mixed-use development at 5935, 5953 Temple City Boulevard. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor Yu, I'd like to recuse myself from this item. I currently own an interest in a business that's within 500 feet of this project.
I too would like to recuse myself. I own property within 500 feet.
All right, so we'll wait for Councilmember Fish and Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist to. Okay, Mr. Brian Cook.
Thank you, Mayor Yu, and members of the council. Before you tonight is, as you stated, which is now known as the project as Terraces at Temple City, at 5935 Temple City Boulevard. Scott Reimers, our planning manager, will give you a very comprehensive overview of the project, and in particular, why staff is presenting this before you for approval, the findings that were consistent with the environmental issues that would be addressed with this project, and in particular as well, why this falls within the guidelines of the downtown specific plan. Hesty Liu, one of our associate planners will be here to explain as well, but we will go through that process. The presentation tonight will go through the process of explaining what the project is, the steps we took in terms of reviewing that project, and why it falls within the downtown specific plan and meets all the environmental conditions related to the project and why we're recommending it for approval tonight. So with that, Mayor Yu.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reamer.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Our presentation tonight will be broken down into three major pieces. The first will describe the project. We'll then move on to analyze the project. I will focus my presentation on general planning principles, conformance with the zoning code, and the specific plan and the design guidelines. And then with us tonight is Joe Power. He's the environmental consultant from Rincon Consultants. He will be giving a presentation specifically in relation to the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, and how this project conforms with that. And then lastly, the applicant would like to provide a presentation as well to demonstrate a 3D model of the project and also describe the existing conditions. The project site is about 1.3 acres in size. It's zoned Temple City Boulevard Commercial Zone. The general plan designated it for commercial. The area of the proposed project would propose to demolish about 5,200 square feet of an existing building. There was a previous demolition at the site when the previous structure burned down. That was in 1988. The proposed project is a mixed-use project, so it includes both a residential and a commercial portion. It includes 61 dwelling units and 7,250 square feet of commercial square footage. 198 parking spaces are provided. Those are split between 60 ground level spaces, and 138 underground parking spaces. The applicant is also proposing to provide 40 bicycle parking spaces. The proposed height of the structure is 53.5 feet. This is an aerial photograph of the site. It's at the southwest corner of Woodruff Avenue and Temple City Boulevard. You can see the northwest portion of the site is the existing structure. The pad to the south is where the previous structure existed. To the north and west of the site, there are residential structures, and to the east and south of the site are commercial structures. This is a illustration of the original project that was originally applied for. Once that application was received, there were issues regarding building height, the appropriate step backs of the upper floors, and the general scale of the project in comparison to the surrounding development. This is the revised project. Just to go back and forth, you can see that the building height was reduced from 5 stories to 4 stories. The setback from Woodruff Avenue has increased to 32.5 feet from the property line. The articulation of and massing of the structure has been improved. However, staff believes, along with the with a design consultant, that further modifications can be made to the structure to even improve upon the design beyond that. This is a site plan. On the left-hand side is the ground floor. Along the top of the slide is Woodruff Avenue. To the right of each floor plan is Temple City Boulevard. The ground floor includes 2 access points for vehicles, one from Woodruff Avenue, there's 3 access points, one from Woodruff Avenue and 2 from the alley. One alley access is for the ground level and the other is for the underground level. On the right-hand side is the underground parking. That is mostly for the residences, but there's also some guest parking and commercial overflow parking in the basement. The northern portion of the ground floor is for residential, is proposed to have residences, providing a transition from the residential neighborhood to the north. And the southern portion of the ground floor will have commercial uses to provide a transition to the commercial uses to the south.
I'm sorry, so on the north side, on the first floor, there'll be residential?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
No commercial on that north side?
That's correct.
Right, thank you.
On the second floor, which is the floor plan on the left-hand side, the structure is shown in red. In green is the open space that's being provided for the residents of the building. And then on the right-hand side are the third and fourth floor plans. In order to approve the project, there are 3 entitlements that have to be approved. One is the conditional use permit. That's both for the mixed-use development and for the restaurant uses that are being proposed. Another is the tentative tract map. In order to subdivide airspace for condominiums, a tentative tract map has to be approved. And a major site plan review, which is the findings based on the design of the structure. So the City Council will be, if they want to approve the project, will be making findings for each of those entitlements. In addition to that, in order to approve alternative development standards on the site, the City Council would also need to make some design incentive findings. And I'll walk you through what those are in the next portion of the presentation. Our project analysis tonight will focus on a lot of the input that we've been receiving both at Planning Commission and from the letters that we've received from the public. The planning analysis, a lot of what we've heard is about height and is this project compatible with the surrounding area. In terms of height, the allowed maximum height for a property, for this property, is 45 feet, and that a 45-foot high building could be approved by city staff if there were no other entitlements that required review by Planning Commission or Council. If an applicant wants something higher than 45 feet, they can go to the Planning Commission and the Planning Commission can approve a structure that's up to 55 feet in height. The City Council has the ability to approve a project at this site even higher than 55 feet by using the findings for a design incentive. So the code allows for certain alternative development standards. The alternative development standards are used because, in general, the mixed-use code defaults to the R3 zoning standards. The R3 zoning standards allow a maximum FAR of 0.7 and a maximum density of 30 units per acre. However, the specific plan concedes that R3 standards might not work for a mixed-use project. At the bottom of the slide is a typical R3 development where you have individual units that are separated by open space and have a very residential appearance. So the specific plan concedes that a mixed-use project is not likely going to conform to those R3 zoning standards, but it sets that as a baseline. It provides for some flexibility to those development standards, but it says in order to receive that flexibility, specific findings have to be made, and those are the design incentive findings that are called out on page 3 of the City Council staff report. In terms of the development standards and whether staff, the development standards alternative development standards look at the density of the site, and we also wanted to talk to you about the height of the project, because those are some concerns that we've heard from the community. The surrounding area is made up of really two different residential zones. Further away from the site are R2 zones, and closer to the site are R3 zones. R3 zones are shown in orange, and the R2 zones are shown in orange, and R3 zones are shown in brown. The R2 zones allow a maximum of 20 buildings. I'll go back for a minute. Allow for a maximum of 12 units per acre and 30 feet in height. The R3 zone steps up from there to 30 units per acre and 40 feet in height. So staff wants to demonstrate the compatibility, whether this is compatible or not. When we look at zoning, what we tend to find is that as residential zones increase from R1 to R2 to R3 to mixed-use zones, what we tend to find is the building heights increase. So in this case, in the city, we have a maximum height of allowment of 26 feet in the R1 zone. That then increases to 30 feet in the R2, 40 feet in the R3. This project is proposing 53.5 feet. In terms of percentage increases, this project, the percentage increase in building height from R2 to R3 is a 33% increase. This project has a similar percentage increase from the surrounding R3 zone, which is 34% or 53.5 feet. In terms of density, we see a similar increasing between the zones. 6 lots per acre allowed in the R1. That steps up to 12 units per acre in the R2, 30 units per acre in the R3, and 47 units per acre for this project. In terms of the percentage increase over the lower zone, what we find is that as we increase from R2 to R1, it's a 100% increase. As we increase from R3 to R2, it's a 150% increase. This project doesn't propose a 100% increase over R3 or 150% increase over R3. It provides a 57% increase over R3 densities. A lot of concern that we've also heard at Planning Commission is not just is this compatible in terms of height and density, but also about traffic. The first general issue is, will there be a significant impact on traffic? The project did go through a traffic study. It is a significant study that looked at a number of issues. And that 75-page traffic study found that the original project, which was 75 units and 10,000 square feet of commercial space, would potentially have a significant impact at the intersection of Las Tunas Drive and Temple City Boulevard. In response to that, the traffic study called out what could be done in order to reduce that impact. The applicant has redesigned the project based on what's called a mitigation measure, and that mitigation measure required them to reduce the size of the project to reduce its impact. And so the project you see before you tonight meets that mitigation measure and reduces the impact to less than significant. At the Planning Commission meeting, we also heard some specific concerns regarding left turns. And one of the concerns was the left turn from Temple City Boulevard to Woodruff Avenue. And would a left turn arrow now be necessary? This was studied in the traffic study, and the traffic study looked at the volume and the capacity of that intersection and found that there were no warrants or findings or reasons to require restricted turn signals at that intersection. There were also concerns expressed about people making a left-hand turn from Temple City Boulevard into the public parking lot south of the project and then heading north up the alley in order to access the mixed-use project. The concern being that people would be queuing then on Temple City Boulevard and causing backup. This is a pre-existing condition. We are limited in the amount we can condition this project because of pre-existing issues. However, we recognize that this project may allow some additional people or demand for additional people to make that left turn. With the absence of a left turn lane, could cause some queuing in that area. We will have the city engineer review the situation and come up with a striping plan that would preclude that. With that, that concludes staff's analysis of the project from a purely planning standpoint of the specific plan. I'd like to turn it over now at this point to Joe Power, who will provide a description of the environmental analysis, and then I'll return back here to provide a conclusion on the analysis.
Thanks, Scott. Good evening. Thanks for having me tonight. Again, Joe Power from Rencon Consultants. We've assisted the city with the preparation of the California Environmental Quality Act environmental review document. In this case, it was a mitigated negative declaration. I want to just give a brief overview of the process and then kind of the key findings of the study. The mitigated negative declaration, or MND, is required under the California Environmental Quality Act, more commonly known as CEQA. CEQA has four main purposes. First is to disclose the environmental effects of proposed actions. Second is to identify ways that we usually call mitigation measures to avoid or reduce environmental damage or significant environmental effects. Next is to consider feasible alternatives to the proposed actions. And then lastly, this is why we're here tonight, of course, is to facilitate public participation in the process. Now, just a brief overview of the process that we've gone through. The city prepares what's called a draft initial study, ISMND, and then once that's completed, that is circulated for a 20-day public review period. That occurred in August. Then once we receive the comments on the final MND, the city is required to consider those. I believe we only got one comment letter regarding the MND. And then we prepare the final MND, which includes what's called a mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which I believe has been on the city's website for a couple of weeks now. And that outlines how the city will ensure that mitigation measures included in the MND are actually implemented. Then the city prepares findings and makes a decision on the project tonight, hopefully tonight. Issue study in the ISMND, I won't read them, but it's a list of about 18 issues. I'll let you take a look. We go through an analysis of each of those as part of the initial study. And I just want to quickly go over what the key issues, the ones for which we found potentially significant impacts requiring mitigation measures. Scott touched on a couple of these earlier. First is the issue of aesthetics and specifically shadows. We found that there would be a potentially significant shadow effect from the original 5-story proposal on the neighbors to the north. The mitigation measure suggested was to reduce the project to 4 stories and step back the 4th story a bit from the northern site boundary, both of which were done as part of the project redesign, so that mitigation measure has already been implemented by the applicant. Second is the issue of geology. We found potential issues related to ground shaking and expansive soils, and those could be remediated through implementation of the recommendations contained in a geotechnical study that was prepared for the project. Third was the issue of hazards, and there were a couple of issues there. One, due to some past uses on the site, there's potential for some contamination in site soils with because of a former dry cleaning facility, I believe, on the site. Two potential contaminants, trichloroethylene and perchloroethylene. The mitigation measure would be to perform a human health risk assessment and, as appropriate, remediation of any contaminants exceeding regulatory action levels. And then the other issue was related to asbestos in the existing buildings, and that potential impact would be remediated through implementation of an asbestos abatement program during site demolition. Next was the issue of noise, and this was really related to temporary construction noise, and we suggested some fairly standard construction noise reduction measures, implementation of temporary sound barriers, sound blankets, timing restrictions on construction, and the like. And then lastly was, and Scott touched on this one, was the issue of transportation. There was, we looked at 8 study intersections in the area. During both the AM and PM peak hours, we identified one significant impact under County of LA criteria, and that was during the PM peak hour at the Temple City Boulevard Las Tunas intersection. And as Scott mentioned, there were a couple of mitigation approaches. One was to reduce the project size by 10% or more, and thus the number of trips by 10% or more. And the second was some improvements at the intersection. The applicant already has reduced the project size compared to what was studied in the traffic study, which was the original 5-story proposal. And with the reduction in project size, we would actually see about a 40% reduction in the net increase in traffic. So that issue has already been addressed as well. That is it for CEQA, and of course I will be here this evening to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Mr. Powers, can you briefly explain what triggers the CEQA process?
Yes, what triggers it is a discretionary project. In this case, there are certain discretionary approvals that the council is going to need to make tonight in order, if the project were to be approved. And whenever there's a discretionary action needed from the council or the planning commission, CEQA is triggered, and that's and the environmental review requirements. If this was a purely ministerial action, something that the staff could be approved at the staff level, CEQA typically would not apply.
And just one last thing. In your experience dealing with CEQA type regulations and initial studies, would you say any of the mitigation measures that came from this are unusual or for a project of this scale?
No, I would say these were all pretty standard. I wouldn't say there was anything unusual. The only thing a little bit unusual is the shadow impact. But, you know, again, that was pretty readily addressed. We did a very detailed shadow study, pretty much told the applicant kind of early on in the process exactly how far they would need to reduce the height, and they actually redesigned the project to meet that need.
Thank you.
Any other question for staff? If not, then I guess Mr. Reamer has that conclusion.
So in conclusion, staff has provided analysis. We believe that this project is compatible with the surrounding development, and we've looked at ways of stepping back the building from the surrounding development. The heights are compatible with what's allowed within the surrounding area. In terms of design quality, we believe that we've brought forward a project that meets the findings of excellence in design. In addition, we provided some conditions of approval that will make sure that the specific materials that are used will be reviewed as we move forward in the project. And in terms of traffic, we've reviewed the specific issues that came up at Planning Commission meeting and provided answers to those. In addition, as Mr. Powers stated, we've reviewed the project in terms of environmental review and provided environmental mitigation measures that will reduce the impacts to less than significant. With that, staff recommends that the City Council adopt Resolution 165211, adopting the mitigated negative declaration and approving the conditional use permit, the tentative tract map, and the major site plan review subject to the conditions of approval.
I have a quick question. Can you tell me what the, I know that, let's see the slide, go back to the slide before this one, where you talk about the traffic and aesthetic impacts will be mitigated to a level that is less than significant. I know that, I guess significant is the top, then less significant. What are the levels of impact? Is there, like, start with no impact, and then what's the next one?
Do you want to answer that? Yeah.
Because I'm not really sure what less than significant really means without comparing it to whatever else is below it, I guess.
All right, understood. Yeah, there are a few levels that we would look at. Yeah, I would say no impact, or in some cases we even have beneficial effects would
So
be kind of
beneficial's
the
the
least. Yeah, that's the best.
All right.
And then no impact. And then I'd say we fall into the category of a less than significant impact, where we've established a significance threshold. We've kind of drawn a line somewhere and said, if we're under this level, then it's not significant, and if we're over it, it is. And so less than significant would be the next level up. From there, it becomes significant but mitigable. So we may have an impact that is over the standard that we've identified for significance, but there's mitigation available to reduce it to under that standard. And then the worst kind of impact we have in CEQA, and we never have these in an MND, because if we had them, we would have to do an environmental impact report, or EIR, is what we call a significant unavoidable impact. So that's one that's over the threshold, and there's nothing we can do to reduce it below that. But we had none of those in this case.
Right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Any other question for staff? Okay. This time, I guess we'll go to the developer's presentation. Okay. This time, I'd like to call up the applicant, Mr. Rick Abbey.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, City staff. Thank you for considering our project tonight. My name is Rick Abe, and I'm an architect and a member of the design team tonight. I appreciate the thorough staff report. My role for you tonight is to show you an animation that illustrates a brief walkthrough of the project. This video should add to your understanding of the project design. The animation itself shows 4 short vignettes. The first vignette is a view looking towards the project as you drive northbound on Temple City Boulevard. So when designing a mixed-use project, a key feature for us as architects is to provide a good pedestrian experience using architectural detail which provides scale, so that the experience at the ground level is one that illustrates good scale and good pedestrian use. The second vignette that we're showing gives a pedestrian view as you look across Woodruff Avenue. So you're looking back at the project, and your notable would be the setbacks or the stepbacks that were described in the staff report. The third view starts as you move westbound on Woodruff. This shows the parking access at the first floor at the commercial parking, and as you move closer to the building, you see the landscape building courtyard that was described in the floor plans as mentioned within the staff report. And lastly, the fourth vignette is an aerial view of the proposed project in context with the area. And this shows the location along Temple City Boulevard. So hopefully that helps to give you kind of a pedestrian viewpoint, as well as a understanding that you would typically just have a rendering view, so I hope that helps. To speak in greater detail on the project, we have the principal architect here tonight, Simon Lee, and I'd like to call him up.
Mr. Simon Lee. Thank you, Mr. Abe.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Honorable Mayor and City Councils. My name is Simon Lee, AIA, the architect of this project. All the conditions of approval proposed recommended by city staff are acceptable for the, in terms of planning, building, engineering, and the public work, as well as the comments from, the conditions from LA County Fire Department are all acceptable to us. I would like to also take this opportunity to thank city staff's assistance and support on this project. It has been some time since we start the project in the year of 2011. During the past 5 years, the design proposal has been adjusted and revised from 5 stories, 75 unit to 4-story, 61 unit. And most importantly, to modify the project to meet all the requirement of the mitigation measures by Recon Environmental Consultant. So finally, the project earns the support of the city environmental consultant in terms of aesthetic, shadow study, traffic and the circulation study, noise and air quality study, as well as utility study, etc. City also hired an architectural consultant, RRM architect, has reviewed the previous 5-story proposal before the project was revised to 4-story and reduce the height. And with a new architectural style of contemporary design with a flavor of Mediterranean characters. This project is guided by the city downtown specific plan. This type of downtown condominium housing is just providing a different option and a choice for the downtown livings, for more walking and less driving, living in the downtown. We are glad to see the city staff support and positive recognition of these major revisions, while we will continue working closely with planning staff for the best result of final product of this project. That's all I have to say. I will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you.
I think there's one more applicant, Mr. Michael Huang.
Good evening, Mayor Yu, members of the City Council and
Good
City
evening.
staff. My name is Michael Huang, and it's Karina Sujo sitting in the front row over there. We are the managers for the terraces at Temple City. And I wanted to give you a little bit about the history of this property. This property has been owned by the same families for the
Mr.
past...
Huang, you might speak in the
Oh,
mic
I'm
a
sorry.
little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that
please.
better?
Yeah.
Okay, this property has been owned by the same families for the past 30 years. And during these 30 years, we've tried to develop this property. And we've tried many different options, but we've just never been on the same page with the Planning Commission and the Planning Department, I'm sorry, up until this point. Actually, most recently, we've received many offers from investors who wanted to buy the property, and they wanted to build hotels onto the site. And if we were just interested in profits, that would actually be the easiest option to go with. But we felt that hotel is actually not a right fit for the neighborhood. We think that a mixed-use project is actually the best fit and best use of the land, both for the neighborhood and for the city. And as Mr. Lee, our architect, mentioned before, we've been working with the planning department, and they've been great to work with for the past 5 years. There have been countless revisions and modifications. And to have to be where we are today, we're really proud of this project, and it was designed with a downtown specific plan in mind. And we believe that this mixed-use project will revitalize the downtown area, and it will also provide high-quality residential living for those who prefer condominiums over single-family homes. And I know there's some concerns about traffic, building heights, and also parking, and let me address a little bit of some of that. As mentioned before, the traffic study was done, extensive traffic study was done, and it was only determined that with our previous proposal of 75 units, we had to reduce our project size by 10%. But we reduced our project size significantly more than the 10%, and I'll go into a little more detail on that later. In terms of the parking, our parking, both for the commercial and residential, was completely self-contained. We have sufficient parking for the commercial space and sufficient parking underground for the residential space. And in fact, for residential units, we're providing 2 parking spots for both the 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units, and we're providing 3 parking spaces for each 3-bedroom condo unit. And concerning the height of the building, when a shadow study was done, I believe it impacted the neighboring house across the street. I think it was one day out of the year, summer solstice or winter solstice, where a shadow was cast on the lawn, and for, I think, a period of a couple of hours. And because of that, we wanted to mitigate that, so we basically chopped one floor off the building. So we went from five floors to 4 floors because of that. So this slide here shows an aerial view of our property. The yellow shaded portion is our property. And again, we believe that this is suited for mixed use in this area because this area here directly to the north and this area directly to the west of our property, these are zone R3. And also directly to the south of our property is commercial, and directly to the east of our property is also commercial. So we are actually right at the intersection of R3 and commercial. Hence, we believe that mixed use is actually ideal for that location. Can we have the next slide, please? And this demonstrates the reduction in size of this current project. We reduced the residential portion from 75 units to 61 units. That's a reduction of 19%. We reduced the commercial space initially from 15,000 square feet to 7,250 square feet. That's a reduction of over 50%. And again, we reduced, basically took out one whole floor to accommodate the shadow so that it would affect the neighbors. And this is actually a portion of the property that shows a street view of the property. This is a vacant lot, and it's actually a burned out Alpha Beta store, and it's been fenced off like that for the past 30 years. Next slide, please. And this is the northern portion of the property. This actually shows the 5 storefronts comprising of 5,200 square feet. That's what's there currently. And in our opinion, we feel that these storefronts are actually dated. And if I could actually mention one more, okay, actually this shows the combined view stepping back from the property. That shows the fenced lot and the storefront in context of where they are to each other. And one thing I wanted to point out also is I know there's some concerns from residents about adding more commercial space when they believe that there's actually too much, but we're actually believe that we're going to add new updated storefronts. But we currently have 5,200 square feet right now with 5 stores. The new design will have 7,200 square feet with 4 stores. So we'll actually have 1 less store, but we're just adding 2,000 square feet of commercial space to what's there existing. So in summary, our project, both the commercial portion and the residential portion, will be built of really high quality to a really high architectural standard. And we believe this is the best chance in 30 years to get rid of that fenced lots and build a modern building that we could be really proud of. And again, we've been in Temple City for over 30 years. We're really proud of the fact that we're in Temple City. And hence, when we named the project, we made sure we had Temple City in our name. So again, we're really excited and prepared to make the substantial investment in Temple City. And I'll be around to answer questions if you have any. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mr. Huang. I'll ask you to come back up when maybe after all the rest of the public comes and made.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, I would like to call up the rest of the folks to speak, whether in favor or against the project. I noticed there are quite a number of speaker requests. So I'd like to ask everybody to keep your timing to no more than 3 minutes. And I will interrupt you at 3 minutes and ask you to stop. So please watch that clock when you present. So first, I would like to call up Beverly.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Beverly Guan, and I am a longtime resident of Temple City, and also I am a member of the General Plan Advisory Committee for the city's general plan. When I saw the project as a resident, I became very excited to see this new modern commercial and residential mixed use that is going to happen in our city. I think it's the first mixed use project that we're going to see. As we see surrounding cities are beginning to do this, or they have completed some of the projects like this, and this will be our first one, and I'm excited for that. And it actually beautifies our city. And as a resident, I'm very happy to see that happening. And I hope I know there's going to be, there's going to be disruptions or, as doing construction phase. But I'm sure the city staff and also the developer will mitigate all the concerns. That's as a resident. As a member of the General Plan Advisory Committee, I did look at the projects in detail, and it does comply with what we have, and it's very consistent with the plans that we're working on. So I'm happy to see all this happening, and I hope the council can approve it today. And I know there's going to be people who may not like it, and I mean, doing construction of any project, there's going to be disturbance, inconvenience, and I mean, I don't like that either. But if we want the final beautiful project like that, we kind of have to accept that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Quinn. Next, I'd like to call up Mr. Stafford.
Mayor, you, council members, city staff, upon reviewing this project, one of the things that considers me is the traffic influx on Woodruff and also an influx of traffic on the alley. And also Temple City Boulevard and Las Tunas. People are going to be trying to get into that alley. I would suggest having no left turns to get into the parking lot behind the businesses on Las Tunas to access that alley. If you allow left turns there, there's going to be a ton of accidents. It's already dangerous enough. You influx the traffic, it's just not going to be good there. Again, I suggest no left turns into the parking lots for the businesses behind Las Tunas. Also, I would also recommend left turn arrows north and south on Temple City Boulevard to access Woodruff, east and west of the project, especially northbound, because you're going to be making a left turn onto Woodruff and go into that alley. I just can't see them making it on a green light there. It's just going to be too dangerous. Secondly, I would have four-way stops at Woodruff and Primrose and Woodruff and Cloverly. Cloverly now already has an influx of traffic because of that apartment complex that was built on the south side of Woodruff and the west side of Cloverly. You're putting more traffic there now than it's already increased. I really think that without traffic improvements, this is going to be problematic. The second thing that another thing that I would do in the alley behind where the entrances are, you might consider putting some speed bumps there. Because people are going to just be going through that alley, and it's just not going to work. Right now, behind where the 99-cent store is, it's harder than heck to park there. And I go there sometimes, and there needs to be some traffic issues worked out here. It's a good project, but I see some problems. They're going to have to. Somebody's going to have to pay for these traffic improvements. You can't do it without the traffic improvements. Believe me, I cross Cloverly and Woodruff, and it's already bad now. Think about when that project goes in. You're going to have some problems. I would also consider a left turn coming eastbound on Las Tunas to make a left to go into Primrose to access the project. You know, you're going to have probably Primrose and Las Tunas left turns both east and west on Las Tunas to make a left onto Primrose. It's just not going to work any other way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stafford.
I think that's a first, Steve. You got an ovation. We got
Well, in the interest of everybody feeling comfortable to speak, I'll ask all of you to refrain from clapping or jeering or saying anything, and then we need to respect the speaker, whether they're speaking in favor or against the project. So, I'd like you to respect that as well. Next, I'd like to call up Azu Chang, Zhang, Aixue.
How do you spell the last name?
Zhang.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Everyone. Yeah. My name is Aixue Zhang.
Aixue
Can you
Zhang.
speak up a little bit? I can
Yeah,
barely
speak
hear
into the
you.
mic a little bit more,
okay.
please.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just live in Temple City more than 10 years. I oppose the project. Just locate 5935 to 5953 Temple City Boulevard. I think this place is good for no more than 2-story commercial building only. I want to suggest to build the project like the Gateway project located northeast corner of Rosemead Boulevard and the Las Tunas Drive. Right now it's also called the Camellia Square of the Temple City. There, I think that is really good sample for right now the project. Temple City is a small town, and right now a lot of people already. I think our council members serve for Temple City residents and work hard to build a beautiful city for us. If the project 15280 is built like the Gateway project, it will short the construction time and reduce the pollution and the traffic, and I think it will coordinate well with the surrounding building, because it's a 4-story building is too high for Temple City, I think. And they will protect our city environment, and the Temple City will be more beautiful. We love Temple City. We hope a good project exactly suited for the Temple City. I like there will be a beautiful building there, but I think we need to consider it's more suited for our city, because here is no more than 4-story, and right now people, I think everyone think the Camellia Square is wonderful, awesome for our city. It's changed our city, and we hope you think it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call up Mr. Bill. I guess Green. I guess, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I couldn't make out the handwriting. Ms. Green, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council, and to the residents of Temple City. My name is Bill Green, and I'm a mailman here, and I'm also a resident, a tax-paying resident. So I was interested. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought I was talking loud enough. Okay. But I'm interested in this project twofold. First off, in relation to the Postal Service and what we can do to, provide adequate service for this project. Secondly, as a resident and living a couple of blocks away, how it would affect me and other residents in the city. But I also have a question because this is the third meeting that we have had about this project. Some people, weren't there the first couple of times. But the impact of this on the surrounding area, and people were saying, well, Longden Elementary School would be affected, and, the high school. But then you have to also think about, well, this community is growing. We can't go back in the past anymore because we have an explosion of new people. And walking around delivering mail, it's all about babies now. So we're going to have to plan to have adequate services for street maintenance, plumbing, school construction. So I'm glad that you all came out today because we're going to have to work together to move forward to realize, what's going to happen for our families and for the future of the city. So it's good to see everybody here and give, their piece so we can put everything together so that at the end of the day, we could say we work together to keep this city beautiful. And the 12 years that I've worked and lived here, I really love Temple City, and I love all of you. So let's work together and make it happen. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Green. Next night, I'd like to call on Mr. Albert Chen. Yeah, Mr. Chen.
Is it Chen?
Good C-H-A-N, Chen. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Yu, Councilman Mann, and Councilman Chavez. Okay, we have more than 400 people on a petition against this project, and it's increasing because the public's not aware of this project, and it wasn't given in bilingual Chinese either. This is a huge project right in the middle of Temple City near two large intersections. You're going to set precedents by approving this project. Temple City is going to look like Main Street, Alhambra, or Hong Kong. It does not give Temple City the family, small-town feeling. From listening to the testimony, it seems like they're making a lot of adjustments on 45 feet and up, and whatever adjustments they're making to squeeze this huge project in for a commercial zone. We have plenty of businesses on Baldwin Avenue, Temple City Boulevard, Encinitas Avenue, Rosemead Boulevard, and 3 large malls at the 3 corners of Rosemead Boulevard. I don't think a 7,500 square foot retail space is going to make that much difference. 61 condominiums, 4 stories high, are going to be a drain on our infrastructure. More fire and sheriff services. Will there be a problem with burglary and vandalism in an underground parking structure? They stole my car right in front of my parking lot in the middle of the night. And my neighbor around this corner got her car vandalized in the middle of the night. The post office, I heard, might even have to pay overtime, and in effect, it might increase our postal rates. More water usage, rotating power outages, increases in classroom sizes, higher student-to-teacher ratio, increased parking in our residential streets, and increase in traffic and traffic jams from the condos and retail stores. As mentioned from an earlier gentleman, it's crowded. It's crowded. Residential parking is crowded on Cloverleaf Avenue by the apartments, and when the society has functions, it is more crowded. They park across the street, the little mall, and all around the streets. And I was told that when Taekwondo has a function, the traffic and parking is terrible. people can't even get in the parking lot to go to the 99-cent store or the Bank of America. Parking just spills out to the residential streets. Also, I see asphalt cracking and asphalt chunks on Temple City streets due to heavy traffic. Even right in front of your city hall, the street's cracking. I think the project needs to go back to the drawing board. We need something there, but 4 stories is ridiculous. It overshadows all the 2-story businesses all along Las Tunas. It's right in the middle of the city. It looks like an eyesore. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
What's
Mr.
your
Chair.
suggestion that we put there?
Well, it seems like you're making a mixed use out of a commercial thing. If you want to do something, just make it blend with Las Tunas. 2 stories. 2 stories is the max. They want to do a lot of adjustments. I'm listening from 45 feet to 50 some. We're not going to give them 8, 9, 10 more feet to cover higher on the ground.
So your answer would be 2 stories, and that would
I
be
think
okay with you?
I'm fine with 2 stories. I think it blends in with all the stores along Las Tunas, and it's not an eyesore. It's not right in the middle of town, a huge structure. You know, I think to me that's better, and it may reduce a lot of the traffic and everything else.
Do you live in the general area?
In fact, I live near Longden School, and I have to put up with the horrendous traffic because someone mentioned that, oh, we're going to have this apartment where everybody walks. Well, let's face it, nobody walks in Temple City. I live near Longden School. Every morning, we got the parade of cars. Nobody walks to school hardly. And if that's going to be jammed up by Longden and Garibaldi and Primrose, that project just down the street. And you're going to have cars, people taking their kids to school from the condos. It's just going to be more traffic. No one walks. No one walks in Temple City. They should. Good exercise. But let's face it, we need something there. It's been empty for 28 years. I think they need to reduce that. I think it's too
Thank you.
overbearing, overshadowing.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Mr. Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. Next, I'll call up Ms. Annie Wu.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. My name is Annie Wu. I live in Temple City 20 years. I have 2 daughters in the Temple City High School and the middle school. Right now, my grandchildren in the Temple City. So small. He in the 99 cents have
Taekwondo.
Class.
Taekwondo.
Yeah. This building is too high. I worry her sometimes walk go home. I worry. 地震怎么说 ？Earthquake. I worry. I very worry. I in the night cannot sleeping. I worry her finish school. So building so high. I worry. I just worry. Temple City right now is blue so traffic. I take the go to school in the so traffic too much car. I 不同意怎么说 I cannot 不同意啊 I don't I don't like this building too high. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Wu.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, would you please? I want to keep this fair for everyone. Please don't clap, whether you agree or disagree. Next, I want to call up Ms. Regina Naber. Okay.
How do you spell the last name?
Naber.
Neighbor.
Neighbor, not neighbor.
Is this for GMB? Is that it?
I'm confused. Hi.
Hi.
I think I'm loud enough.
Ma'am, if you
Yeah,
if you
it's that way we can record you. Yeah.
Okay, I can't
Because
see
it's
it all.
recorded, yeah.
All right, I'm going to represent Mrs. Jean Neighbor.
Okay,
Her
Jean
dad.
Neighbor, sorry.
That's
I
okay.
didn't-
Her father built half of this town. I've seen pictures when there was fields everywhere. So she's endured a lot. She's left the community since he's passed. She's moved back. And now I'm just going to speak from what we've seen from across the street.
we
She's
get
used
her
to
name?
sitting there with her husband, who just passed away a year and a half ago.
I'm sorry, what is your name?
What's your name?
I'm Dawn Sheridan.
Dawn Sheridan.
D-A-W-N.
Oh, okay, so yeah, I
Got
got
it?
your speaking
Okay.
request.
Yeah, I was
here,
next
yes.
anyways. Anyways, Jean has mobility issues, okay? So, and since her husband has passed away a year and a half ago, her chances of getting out are limited. And what she really loves is to sit in her recliner in her living room, where her dad probably did before her, and her husband used to sit in the recliner next to hers and look out their window at the beautiful sunset. This is just an example, and the guy who spoke about Woodruff really hit it. Okay, so now when she sits in her chair and looks out the window, she's now reduced to a sliver. And God bless her, she's very grateful for that sliver of the sunset that she gets to see now. Okay, because of the condos that they built right across the street, it's blocked all of that.
Are you talking about
On-
currently condos that are there now?
Yes.
Okay. But not
Yes.
the ones that are proposed?
No, but I'm just using that as a comparative. And really, I've got a little bit more to say about that. It didn't just block her view of the sunset, it changed a lot of the safety around the neighborhood. Because, again, with Woodruff being already busy, already used as an access, the sidewalks are narrow. Maybe widen the sidewalks, because what happened when those condos were being built, and I had video of this, darn it, on a phone that I don't have anymore, and I wanted to submit it then. But when they were doing their construction, which involved, of course, the tractors and the concrete trucks and the cones, whatever, in order for her to get out on a beautiful day and just get out and enjoy her new motorized scooter, with myself as somebody to help her so that she was aware of safety, road traffic, whatever. I had video of her having to go out into the street because the construction site had their vehicles, their tractors, their concrete, their everything that goes along with that, which is fine. But she had to go out into the middle of the street to get around all of it. And what's going to happen to the rest of the individuals when the construction starts here? It's not going to get any better on Woodruff, that's for sure. But how about moms with their babies in strollers? How about special needs, needing wheelchairs,
Ms.
access?
Sheridan, I'd like to ask you to conclude, please.
Okay, I'm done. I have a lot more to say, but I just appreciate you hearing just that much. And thanks, Bill. You're
Thank you.
awesome.
Next, I'd like to ask Mr. Jerry Song to come up.
Son?
Song, S-O-N-G.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jerry, and I'm a resident here in Temple City. And
good evening, Mr. Song.
Yeah, my son was here at a city council meeting last time. I'm just tired of looking at the empty parking lot there, the past 30 years, and I'd rather look at this than the empty lot. And I think this will bring a lot of tax dollar to the city, and it would really help the city. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Mr. Song. Next, I'd like to call up, is that Johnny? Zonnie Hanna? Yeah, please come on up.
How do you spell the last name?
Hanna, H-A-N-N-A. Mr. Hanna, good evening.
Hi, my name is Zohni Hanna. I'm living here in Golden West.
I think this is going to be a huge project,
Mhm.
and we're going to make like a big mess for parking. Later, we're going to pay for parking per minute because it's going to be very crowded, and also going to be for school. What's going for school? We start already building high school, and already we have like a crowded classes, and I wish it's going to be reduced more. Thank you.
Right, thank you. This is the last speaker request, so at this time I'd like to ask Mr. Huang, one more. Well, actually, Mr. Huang, wait, can we wait?
If you have speaker request forms, you need to bring them up to the clerk. No, do you have any more there that you're missing?
No, I thought I called up everybody. Let's see here. Oh, I must have missed this one. Mr. Wang Seng Kwong? Gu? Guo? Yeah. Could you please come on up, Mr. Guo?
What's your last name? Wu?
Guo? G-U-O.
G-U-O?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wensheng Guo. I'm the resident of Temple City. So about like 10 years ago, when my wife and I looking around and choose the Temple City over other cities for the rest of our life. So at that time, definitely Temple City is the beautiful city, small town, and with less population, less crowded, and also the public safety. So we already did the thorough study before we make our final decision. So, but nowadays, I think, give you an example. Right now, I have 3 kids. So 2 right now in the La Rosa school. So the class right now is is 25 students per class. So relatively, El Monte is 10 students per class. So you can see how crowded right now.
Wait, so you're saying that Temple City has 25 students per class?
Per class, for the elementary
school.
school.
And the same class in El Monte has 10?
10, yes.
And how do you know that?
So actually, my wife did some research and got that number.
Your wife did some research and found that out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely, I think that's the right now. Well, I don't want to see, as a resident of the Temple City, I don't want to see the population density get even higher. So that's why I'm strongly against this proposal. As one comment to the earliest Mr. Abbey's animation. So when I review that animation, my feeling is I just like drive through the our downtown of Alhambra. So I don't want Temple City to be another Alhambra. So that's my view. Thank you.
How would you account for the people that are born here?
I'm sorry?
How would you account for the people that are born here? Where are they going to go to school?
So could you clarify your question here?
Well, you say that your concern, or at least I hear you saying that your concern for this project is that you believe it'll add more kids to the already overcrowded school system that we have.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah. So
how do we account for people who already live here and have children? They're going to need to go to school as well, correct?
Yeah, I think that I understand your point here. So because limited by the 3 minutes, so definitely I just try to express my point from one angle. So, but definitely there will be a lot of speakers who will talk about already talk about traffic and other related issues.
Well, the reason I bring it up is that this seems to be a pretty common theme with the speakers so far, and perhaps we're looking at it in a wrong way. Maybe there's something that we can do to improve or make our schools even better and be able to handle the no doubt more children that are going to be coming into this city one way or another. So rather than looking at it as a problem, maybe we can look at it as an opportunity and a solution.
So I think looking at this question, actually, you can look at it from multiple angles. I think I totally agree with you. On the one side, you can think about, you can take this as an opportunity to how to improve the education system. Even we have more the population within the city. That's one way. But to me, I think the reality is very, very clear. So we need to face every day. So the class actually pretty crowded, right? Almost double. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate your.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guo. Mr. Stephen Pang?
What's the last name?
Pang, P-A-N-G.
Dear Mayor Yu and City Council and dear citizens, I'm here only because I'm strongly against this project. I do support these two stories. I think that's a good idea. I have here have been in Temple City for 10 years. I love the city. Highly educated people, nice people around this area. This project will pose huge damage to our house value here, bring more crime in this area. So it will establish a horrible precedence in this city. So I hope the board members think about what this kind of a city environment you guys want to live, for your kids, for your future. So that's why I'm against this project.
How do you believe that this project will increase crime?
Because, we think about, Temple City, like everyone see here, you are kind of a house, it's kind of a more expensive. So you are more highly educated people, more stay this area for fact. I mean, if this one, Temple City against Losme, Hamburg, you think about which city crime right now is higher, which one is lower. So we need to think about, the fact, not just, that I try to say. If you bring down those house value here, then in the future, long term will cost, maybe you can get some money right now, but in the future, you might cause more problem. So that's why I worry.
So you also believe, excuse me, that this project will lower the property values in Temple City as well?
I do believe that.
And what do you base that on?
I mean, you think about, house, what's the most value right now is the land, right? So your house land is the most valuable part. Your building actually is less valuable. So from this angle, easy to calculate which one is better, right? So that's why I try to say, you build those high buildings, especially right now, for example, like San Marino, they don't want to do this way. They limited the house kind of, most of it is even you cannot build a second floor. So that's why I try to say, I try not against other city, against other city approach, but as a Temple City citizen, I worry about Temple City direction. So because you guys are responsible for Temple City citizen, we are allowed to, we are allowed to consider other city what's their approach. So as a citizen here, so I do worry about the direction we are going right now. So that's why I'm here. You can say this is my first time here. So that's why I'm so worried, because so many, tiny house is built right now, then this one even get in. So that's why I worry, the direction we are going is a problem. So that's why, I think we need, you guys is in the charge for this. So I really want you guys think about what Temple City direction to go. So that's our worry.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, I would like to call Ling Li Kai.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Councilman. Good evening, Temple City resident. I love Temple City because this is a small city and people friendly, and the neighborhood know each other. I love this city. I saw city. Now we have Camellia Square. It's beautiful. I love it to walking around. But on the other side of the things, I feel frustrated is when I cannot drive around that area anymore. So I have to walk.
Which area can you not drive around?
Even on the Rosemead, Temple City, now everywhere is crowded, especially weekend. And I never mention about this around the 99 store area. So you can, even I go to Citibank, Bank of America, yeah. I can't find a parking place on the weekend. And I have to walk from my home to go to bank. And even now, already traffic, it's a bigger problem. Can you imagine that 61 building, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom building there, how crowded it will be? The traffic, how can you control traffic there? How to avoid accident? Even now, I see accident around the corner, always bump into each other, and that's I worry about a lot. On the other side is a safety issue. Safety issue is that when you think about the high building, what about earthquake happen? Where people go? We don't have a big, like the Arcadia, have a big, what do you call, Santa Anita Square. Santa Anita, the big the park. Yeah, we don't have a big park. Like we only have a small Temple City Park here. So crowded. Every time I come here, it's just crowded. Think about if you have another, 61 unit, and it's too high, too many, to increase the population volume on this small city. I love it so much. But now I feel like we are changing to too crowded, big city. I don't know, for better or for worse, but I thought it's for worse. If they can change this to two-floor building, or as Camellia Square, I will be happy to see that picture instead of this 4-floor building. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kai. Next, I'd like to call up Mr. Sherman Kwong, or Miss Kwong, I'm sorry.
What's the last name?
Kwong, Kong, K-O-N-G.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and everybody. I'm so scared, but I have to come because I love Temple City. Okay. First, we have to thank the investor or investors. And the project looks great. However, it doesn't fit Temple City, especially that particular location. Two schools around. Temple City and the surrounding city doesn't have more than 2 storage. Even the corner of the Rosemead and the Las Tunas only built 2 storage, right? Looks great. And the south entry of the London Elementary School is 1 block from the project. North side is 2 blocks. High school is 3 blocks. So that means a lot of students walk or drive by around that building.
Okay, I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
So,
Huh?
so is your concern with this project the amount of students that are going to be walking past it?
No.
What is, I don't.
Okay, I haven't finished.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay, and first of all, I'm talking about
Because you
a lot
were
of
saying
students.
something about
Yeah,
the schools being so close and the students walking.
A lot of students walk and then drive by Temple City Boulevard. And the next one is that the project is 61 units. So without commercial, at least more than 100 cars walk in and out from that project. So that will be affect those students or drivers. That's my concern. And also, there's only 1 entrance in and out. Left turn is public parking, which I don't think is right for those people in and out, right? So you have to make a right turn. When you make a right turn, you only can make a left turn, it's Primrose. And a right turn is Temple City. And Primrose and Tamil City is the main street to go to the London School and the Tamil City High School. So that is very busy street. And where am I? Okay, and back to 10 years, when my kids in the school, they only 18 students. Now, because the condominiums built on the Temple City Boulevard and the Rosemary Boulevard, the population already increased a lot. Now the classes, I think, around 30 students per class. So the quantity will go down. Because a lot of kids walk to school, so you guys build the sidewalks on the Primrose all the way to the London School, which is very good for the students. Okay, I can imagine if this project approved, many other similar projects will be followed. So it's like a handbrake. One, you build, rest of them, easy. And our life will be straight down. So our Temple City Library is overloaded. School is overloaded. City is overloaded. Okay, and I just wonder whether the firefighter has the ability equipment to reach the high building if there's an emergency or fire for Temple City firefighter. And also, since the project is not small project, it's big project. So I think the ladder, not just 50 feet around the project, should be notify all the residents in Temple City. That's what I'm thinking. And also, now Temple City is more and more Chinese. I think maybe more than 50%. So should we make some Chinese letter in the future so everybody can read it?
Ms. Kong, I'd like to ask you to conclude.
Time?
Your time's up.
Your time up?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
All right, thank you.
My point is I reject the project. Or,
right,
or
thank you.
lower. You guys can lower to 2 floors. Will be great. Yeah. Since
right.
you guys make money, no, $2 no difference.
Okay, next I'd like to call Mr. Frank Rudell.
I speak to several questions. Mr. Chavez asked about the school district. We provide an excellent school district, hence why we do have double the school students in the school.
I don't think I intimated that we didn't have a good school district.
Say again?
I don't think I said anything about the
Well,
quality
you asked
of
the
our
lady
school
about
district.
how did she judge the number of students in the El Monte room
No,
as
I asked her
opposed
how
to
she
ours.
determined there were only 10 in the
Some-
Almani
something,
School District.
something to that effect. And
I
was
know we
saying-
have a good school district, Frank.
Hmm?
I said, I know we have a very good school
I
district.
know you do. I know. I'm just agreeing with that issue. As I have the way the presentation has gone has been presented, and even with the video that we saw no people involved in it, maybe one person, and I don't know how many cars are going to be actually parked. You said a number of lots that you're providing, but that doesn't give me numbers of cars, doesn't give me numbers of people, and a whole bunch of things that are, to me, missing from this whole thing. And so I think a little bit more work needs to be done in those areas. But I think what the other people are also saying is that we live in a great city, and that's the way they have certain aspirations for it, but we're going to have to grow. Somebody's got to start. So that's, some places we're going to have to put up with some inconveniences to get things started, because it has to be paid for. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think this is last of the speakers' requests. Mr. Peter Choi.
Good evening, Mayor Yu, City Council, City staff. I'm Peter Choi. I'm the president of the Temple City Chamber of Commerce. As I noted earlier in my report, but I'd like to articulate it better here, the Chamber feels this is a good development for the city. Number one, I think the city shares a vision with the Chamber that when we plan for the city, we have to plan for the future. We're not, as much as we cherish the traditions and history and the values that make this a great place to live, we're not planning for 1950, we're looking ahead to 2050. We're looking, the key word in planning and housing in LA County, not just Temple City, is density. There is no more land. And the old Southern California dream of a single-family home on a 7,500 square foot lot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, as I own, as many enjoy, that is not a strong possibility for many millennials moving forward. I recall the city has been bold in its planning, and we commend that, and we have joined the city on those ventures. When the city was looking at the Las Tunas redesign plan, I recall the words of one millennial member who said he was not into it except if it was a live-work situation, which this is. And again, it's about planning for 2050. As much as we enjoy how we live here today, we have to look forward to where we will be, what will be happening in the city, the population growth, and this sort of development is an answer to that. We commend the team of Terraces of Temple City for accommodating the city staff's recommendations, for listening to those suggestions, for redesigning their structure. It's important to note that this project was approved by the Planning Commission, which is composed of 5 residents of the city who bring their wisdom on the totality of the planning to this. They approved it. The Chamber appreciates the architecture of this. We appreciate the density of this. We appreciate the revitalization of the downtown corridor. Temple City residents are often prone to say they wish there was more activity, they wish we had a vibrant downtown. This is one answer. It is very likely, using myself as an example, if I were living in this unit, I would walk down to Las Tunas. And for those who worry about traffic problems, this is why the Chamber supports bike lanes. You don't see a lot of people riding them now because the bike lanes are not all connected. But I encourage you to ride your bikes. This is transportation of the future. We are in a transitional place right now. It's interesting to note that many people appreciate Camellia Square now. They like it. They look at it. They see it. I hope you go check it out. But I will recall, and the city council will recall, and certainly the city staff will recall, that when Camellia Square was in its planning stages, there were residents who had concerns about it, and it was built. So again, thank you. I will relinquish my time. We support the project, and we hope that the city council sees the wisdom of it. Thank you all.
Hey, come on, guys. That's not being fair, okay? And controlling the clock is my job, not yours. I was just about to call him, and then you guys interrupted me. That's not very nice. Okay, last I would like to call up Mr. Huang, the developer, the applicant.
Thank you. Just like to raise a couple of points. Again, we're committed to this project. If we weren't that committed, we would have continued to work with the planning department for 5 years. There's been so many revisions, as our architect knows, from start to finish to where we are today. And I understand there's some dissatisfaction and concern about the traffic the way it is right now, but unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about the traffic the way it is now. And an extensive traffic study was done on our project, and as a consultant said, and by the way, we didn't pick the consultant. We had no say as to who the consultant was. We had to pay for his work, but we didn't pick him. But again, the result of the traffic study is that this will not significantly impact traffic in the area, and we significantly reduce the project beyond the 10% that was requested. And in terms of parking, actually, for our project, a parking study was done, and this is a very thorough parking study for every single day of the week, on weekends, and per hour. And it's my understanding that for normal other commercial activities, they didn't have to do that. But in our case, we did. And we've, again, also reduced our project to accommodate the parking study, just so that we can be completely self-contained in our parking. And lastly, again, I understand the concern about the height of the building. And that's why we took off the 1 floor. But besides taking off 1 floor, we actually also moved this setback from this edge of the property by 32 feet. So across the way for the house on Woodruff, basically to mitigate the impact of this is the setback I'm talking about. We basically did this to accommodate the concern about the height of the building. And I also believe that this project will actually increase the property value. It'll increase the property value of the nearby commercial properties, and it'll also bring a lot of new and updated modern storefronts as amenities for the convenience of the residents nearby. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huang.
Mr. Huang, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
If the project was reduced to 2 stories, would it be financially feasible for you to invest in this property?
No, it would not. The project would be dead.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I actually have another question for you. I noticed that the original proposal had the full first story is retail. Now, I remember you were making a comment that was the retail market is pretty tough to fill all those stores.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So by reducing it, it helps the economic viability of the project?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And like you said, it's just actually fewer number of stores than what you have currently.
Exactly. We only allow 4 stores. And actually, that helps a lot with the parking as well. And that was another consideration to accommodate the parking for the commercial space.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Reamer, you have any concluding remarks or clarification to make after?
Not in particular, but I'm available for questions if the council has any based on the public comment.
I have a real quick question.
Yes.
I didn't see anywhere in the staff report about construction times. Is that just presumed to just comply with our regular rules at 7 to 6 or something like that?
Yeah, it's the Planning Commission's common practice to recommend conditions of approval regarding the hours of construction, and that has been included in the conditions of approval.
I didn't see that. Is that
Those,
somewhere in there?
or they should be
I kept
limited.
looking for it, and I didn't see any times listed at all. I didn't see any times or days. Are they working on Sundays? Maybe you can point that out, but I looked and looked, and I didn't see anything on the conditions of approval.
We can,
do we know? I mean, do you recall what that was?
Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6 is our
I know that's
construction
our
hours.
standard
Yeah.
construction.
And,
so-
and that's what we typically require of all new development.
Okay, so whether it's a project like this or a remodel, whatever.
condo project
There's
or
no
anything, yeah.
distinction between any of those. Okay, so 7 to 6, Monday through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday.
All right.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
What was the time for completion? 3 years, 4 years? Mr. Green, well, maybe I'll just allow the one last question. Maybe Mr. Huang, you can answer that, the construction period. You might come up to the podium and answer this question.
We would like to get it done as quickly as possible, but realistically, we anticipate 18-month to 24-month.
Okay. Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to close public comments. And
Mayor, you take a short break?
Okay.
Maybe 2 minutes or so, get our notes together.
all right, we'll take a short break, about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. We'll reconvene in a little bit. City Council will now reconvene for this item. Before the City Council this discussion, I think Mr. Reamer has a clarification to make.
Sure. I wanted to clarify what the city does in terms of noticing property owners and people within the city regarding projects such as this. The legal requirement for a project like this is to notify residents who own property within a 500-foot radius of a site. And that was done both for the Planning Commission hearing and for the City Council hearing. In addition to that, because of the CEQA review of the project, residents were given more than just a 10-day notice. They were given a 20-day notice so that they had time to review the initial study. In addition to those legal requirements that are required for a project like this, the city has also placed this item on its website, on its opening page, in order to let people know about the project. We've used social media to reach out to let people know about the project as well. We asked the applicant, and the applicant agreed to hold a community meeting to residents who lived, or property owners within 500-foot radius of the site, so that they could, before the Planning Commission hearing, hear what the concerns for the project were. At that meeting, we collected a list of people who attended, got their email addresses, and we've continued to email that group in regard to future hearings. And then lastly, we've also placed articles about this in the City Manager newsletter at regular intervals. In addition to that, we had a question from the council regarding the hours of operation during hours of construction. It is staff's recommendation that we add a condition of approval 43, to clarify it, to make it very specific. And that's a standard condition, and it says, during any demolition and or construction, noise will be controlled by limiting work on the site to 7 a.m. through 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday, and by requiring all trucks and motorized equipment to have properly operating mufflers. No construction work shall occur on Sunday.
All right. Thanks so much for that clarification, Mr. Reamer. At this time, it is for the City Council to discuss this item. Councilmember
Pick a
Shell.
lawyer to go first.
Yes.
Save the technical stuff for later over here on this side. Well, thank you, Mayor Yu. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming this evening. You may not know it, but it does help. We may not always agree with the views that all of you express. We could never do that because there's always two sides. So, but your input is very much appreciated, and it does not go on deaf ears by any means. You know, if you recall different projects that we've had throughout the years, the Las Tunas project and all those, where we had many people like yourselves come out to speak their mind, and you know, I know that we don't always you know, make the decision that maybe you want or that you are here to argue for, but the opportunity to speak and to be heard is something that believe it or not, doesn't always happen in many cities and many jurisdictions even today. So I'm thankful that you come out and express your opinions. You know, I've lived here for a long time, like many of you as well, and on my way to work, I work in Pasadena. I many times travel up Temple City Boulevard and back down Temple City Boulevard, and ever since I've lived here, I've looked at an ugly vacant lot that is surrounded by a chain link fence. And it's always been my hope that someday that would be replaced with something that we could feel proud of and that would really add a lot to our city. Now, you know, we've heard arguments why this particular project will or will not do that, but you know, it is time for that. I can recall the first time I was mayor, and meeting with the Wongs and sitting down and going over all this stuff. And it's been a long haul. I know Mayor, you and I were part of an ad hoc committee back at that time, and we went back and forth. And as you heard tonight, there's so many different developments and so many different schemes that were looked at, and we could never really come up with the right one. And it took a lot of hard work by not only the developer, the owners, the architect, but staff as well. And you could see that, I think, in the presentation tonight, the give and take and the back and forth, the things that make these type of projects a success. You know, I think one of the things that we've lost sight of here tonight, I think Councilmember Mann touched on it, however, briefly, and that is this has to make sense on both sides. You know, and what I mean by that is it certainly has to help the city, but no developer, no owner of a piece of property is going to do something that doesn't make economic sense to them as well. And we've heard arguments tonight that, well, we'd be happy with a two-story project or a one-story project. This development, this site is not going to support that. I don't know any developer or any owner that would be able to come in and do something like that. And therefore, you know, there has to be that give and take. I just want to kind of briefly address some of the comments that were made and my thoughts on some of those things. I think a common theme tonight was that, you know, we want to preserve the small town atmosphere of Temple City. And, you know, we're all aware of that, and we know that primarily we are a residential city, but we're not just a residential city. And many times we've sat up here and we've heard people come to tell us, you know, we'd like more places to shop. We'd like to go to destinations. We don't want to have to go to Arcadia or Pasadena. And so, you know, we get those arguments back and forth. You know, these mixed-use projects, and I work in Pasadena, and I see a lot of the mixed-use projects in Pasadena. Obviously, I do quite a bit of them. My thought is on the mixed use is they don't really discourage that small town atmosphere, but rather kind of encourage it, because they're set up in a way that people will live in their communities. They'll come outside on the sidewalks, they'll shop in their communities, and they'll walk. And I really truly believe that this is a type of project that will create that atmosphere rather than take away from it. We're always talking about, we want to make Temple City more walkable. We want people to go out and walk, and we do see a lot of that. But you know, we can do better, and I think that creating a project like this will encourage that. Again, we've heard talk about the bike lanes and stuff like that, and you know, we've done a lot of stuff for bikes, whether you like to bike or not. You know, it is available to you, and certainly this is a project that will encourage that as well. We've also heard some talk about the impact on the schools. And, you know, we work a lot with the schools. We work very closely. In fact, we meet with them periodically, standing committee meetings and such. I have never heard in the 8 years I've been on city council, anyone from the school district or anyone connected with our schools that somehow we should stop the amount of students that will be coming into that school district. And in fact, as we can see from the bond measures and things that the schools have been doing in Temple City, they're aware of those issues, and they've taken steps to provide for more classrooms and provide for more you know, opportunities for those who do live in Temple City to take advantage of our great school system. And if we tout the great school system we have, and we always say that one of the reasons people do move here to Temple City is for the school districts, then obviously we have to have somewhere for them to live. And so I don't know that that's going to stop, and certainly that doesn't even account for the people that currently live here and plan on having families, and of course they're going to be sending their kids to our Temple City schools. I don't really believe that is a problem, and unless somebody can tell me differently, I believe our schools are capable of handling the students that we send them. Again, it's all speculation. I don't know that we can't really say every family that moves into this complex is going to have school-age children. They may or they may not. I don't know. I know that most condominium living is usually transitional living. That says people give an opportunity to get something, to own something, and then once they decide that they want a family, we'll usually try to move to a single-family home that has a yard and all the things that come with that type of family life. But again, that's pure speculation on my part as well. But there was also some comments about that this will set a bad precedent, that all of a sudden we're going to start seeing projects like this start raising up all over the city. Well, you know, last time I looked, there aren't too many opportunities in the city. There aren't too many open pads and open spaces that will allow such a project. So I don't really see that happening. And in fact, if you recall, we had an open lot just south of this project on Temple City Boulevard, the old mortuary lot. And if you recall, we as the council decided rather than build there, we would keep it open space and provide for parking. So I think you can see that we are committed to a well-rounded downtown, one that will include not only adequate parking, but open space, and also a project such as this, a mixed-use project that hopefully will play well into the neighborhood. Let's see, what else? You know, there was a lot said about, it kind of makes me chuckle a little bit because there were a few people that got up to say how great the Camellia Square project is and how happy they are with it. I can recall sitting here a few years ago when we had a lot of people in this room not too happy with us regarding that project. And now that it's built and it seems to be doing well and is up and running, that you know, things change. Sometimes you have to give things a chance. You know, yeah, is this going to change the area? No question about it. I think it'll change it for the good, however. I'm not buying the arguments that this is going to increase crime. It's certainly, I don't believe, is going to be a detriment to our values, our home values in the area. I think it'll be the opposite. I think that our home prices will continue to rise, and they will continue to rise because of projects like this and because of all the other things that go into making this a full-service city. We're never going to be Pasadena, nor will we be San Marino. We are Temple City, and I'm very proud of our city, and you know, I'm proud of the fact that I can go out and talk to my neighbors and walk the neighborhood with our dog, and none of that's going to change. And in fact, I would be hopeful that in looking at this project and the way it's set up, that will continue, and the people that are living there will be good people like all of you out there today sitting in our audience, and will care for their neighbors and get along and help each other. I have no reason to disbelieve that's not going to happen. That's just the culture of our city, and that's not going to change. So, you know, I truly appreciate the comments, both for and against. But I think that and I'll end on here, is I'm very impressed with the way staff and the owners and developers have worked and gotten together and tried to reach a solution. I think they haven't just forced something on each other. It's been a true compromise, and I think that's the hallmark of the success of a project such as this. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Min?
Thank you, Mayor Yu. I do want to maybe just build on one point that Councilmember Chavez mentioned earlier, and many members of the public reiterated that same concern, which was the idea that building a mixed-use facility was going to set a precedence for the rest of downtown and suddenly transform us into what you see in Alhambra down Main Street. And I know that very well because every day for work, I go through Main Street. I see the new buildings that are built approximately between Atlantic and Garfield, and you see these pretty large structures that are very vertical, and they reach 5, 6, I don't know, maybe 7 stories high. That used to be a library. They had large parcels. Alhambra had the opportunity to build it that large, but perhaps they didn't have to. Now, if you look at our city, we don't have many parcels like that, like Councilmember Chavez mentioned. This is probably the only parcel on Las Tunas, you know, if you discount the whole Rosemead intersection, it's the only large parcel that is even remotely close to making this type of a project feasible. The challenge we have had with Las Tunas businesses is the fact that all the lots are so small. And you know, trying to get a bunch of different owners to coordinate together to kind of improve Las Tunas and build upon it is really a hard task because, you know, like the old saying goes, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. It's hard to have everyone come to the table on even just one block and agree that this is the vision that we all share for one particular block within downtown. So I don't see that really trickling to the rest of our city. This is the only place that I can see it really happening. Now, I share the same concerns with many of the residents. You know, mixed use is definitely a newer trend that we've been seeing all over the United States. I've also approached the idea of mixed use with a great deal of skepticism because, you know, like many of the residents mentioned, a lot of us who live here, we drive. I walk a lot with my wife and my son, but mostly around in the residential area. So the concept of mixed use definitely is a new, novel, and perhaps scary concept for a lot of us. And many of us, I can relate to this because my parents are immigrated here a while ago, and they came from a country and a city where the density was much, much, much larger than what we have here in Temple City. We're talking 32 stories high type of condos in Hong Kong, in Taipei. And so a lot of times people move here to the US and they come over here and they see, oh my goodness, you got 7,500 square foot lot, single family home with a large yard. This is paradise compared to the 700 square foot shack that they had to live in back in their home country. So I understand that there's that fear of kind of reminding you of that's what I left behind when I moved here to the US, and now you're kind of like bringing that back into the city that I live in now. But like I said, this is just one parcel in the entire city. And related to that, like many people have mentioned how much they like Camellia Square and how they wish that this parcel can duplicate or replicate some similar use, which would be heavy commercial. One of the things that we've noticed and staff has done a lot of research on is the trend, sort of the declining trend in heavy retail use. More and more people are shopping online, so the demand for heavy commercial has really gone down, and it's really difficult to attract quality businesses to fill in some of these spaces. And like I also asked Mr. Huang earlier, I said, well, and it's a fair question, you know, a lot of residents are asking for a two-story building. Is it an economically feasible alternative for you to consider a two-story structure? And his answer in short is no. And so from a council standpoint, I guess I'm faced with sort of the stark reality that on one end we have an opportunity to try something that is new, but it is something that has been talked about for many years, has been identified in multiple plans, guidelines, and policies that the city has developed since 2002, which is when the inception of the downtown specific plan came about. And on the other hand, we have the other choice, which is we leave potentially that lot the same way it has been for the last 30 years, which is a vacant lot that occasionally has campaign signs being posted on the chain link fence when it comes election time. I'm not sure how many people really like looking at that. I personally do not. Now, I mentioned the downtown specific plan, and I was reading it just to sort of refresh my memory about what it says. And I found this one statement here that I really want to share with everyone. It actually, our downtown specific plan specifically calls out this site in the plan. It says, quote, The site is ideal for a mixed-use commercial project which can bring substantial new consumers to the downtown. The specific plan provides for a variety of uses on site, recognizing the need to preserve existing businesses along Las Tunas and to protect surrounding residential areas. And so before I was on council, I was on the General Plan Advisory Committee, and one of my fellow committee members was one of the first speakers to come up tonight to share her views. Whenever we talk about land uses, especially density, because that's really the main concern is this is too dense for our city, it's incompatible. But really that issue should really be addressed at a much, much higher level, and that's what we as a city have been doing for the last year and a half, and it's going to come into fruition either at the end of this year or at the beginning of next year. And that general plan really defines, what is our vision for the city moving forward. Like we heard some speakers mention, we're building for the future. We're not building for the past. And I fully agree with that statement. I mean, even our general plan website and theme is Temple City 2050. It's not Temple City 2000. It's not Temple City 2016. It's Temple City 2050. In the year 2050, if I live that long, I'll be 70-something years old. Hard for me to imagine. But I have to think about that because, I grew up here. I was raised here. My family is here. I have a 1-year-old son, and my wife and I, we plan on staying here for the rest of our lives. I want to know that that our city is going to grow and progress. To me, the status quo is really not acceptable. I think there needs to be a forward progression that considers future generations beyond what we can see now. And I understand that for many years, Las Tunas has stayed pretty much the same. And a lot of residents, I understand, like that. They like the status quo. They feel comfortable. There's a certain nostalgia behind the way we have the small lots along Las Tunas. But if you've lived here long enough, you've seen many stores come and go. A lot of the old stores that kind of a lot of residents felt embodied the essence of the historic identity of Temple City may have gone away. And we're really progressing towards a new era. And so for myself, I'm trying to picture, in 30 years, can I see myself living in a city that's going to have a structure such as what is being proposed at this corner? And for me, the answer is a resounding yes. Now, many of the concerns that the residents have brought up are valid concerns, and I would like to say that in the staff report, as well as the EIR and a lot of the documents, a lot of the work that has been done sort of behind the scenes between staff, as well as the applicant, as well as the members of the community and your great input, has resulted in what I would consider a compromise solution to the site. I mean, you saw the original concept of 5 stories, and a lot of people go, oh my God, that reminds me of Alhambra. And so now we've added all these elements to it, or I should say there's a collaborative effort to kind of incorporate design elements that make it less impactful. Like, if you go down Main Street in Alhambra, I can't recall seeing a structure that is set back in the same way that is being proposed in this design. They're all vertical and they go straight up. If you go down Las Tunas, even in the city of San Gabriel, just, I believe, west of San Gabriel Boulevard, there's a new building going up that's about maybe 3-4 stories, and it's straight up. It's a box. What's being proposed is not a box. And I appreciate the detail and the attention to detail that the applicant, their architect, and as well as staff. And I also commend staff for hiring a consultant to kind of look at this project from a different perspective, to make sure that, we're not completely biased and saying that, we want to be fair, we want to have an independent set of eyes. I also appreciate the fact that a lot of the technical work that's done behind the scenes, such as the traffic study and others, are done by consultants that, aren't handpicked by the applicant. I appreciate that effort to I appreciate the process being as objective as possible. And so I guess to conclude, I would hope that we do a good job of enforcing all of the conditions, because a lot of the conditions are the solutions to many of the concerns being brought up, such as the concern that Councilmember Chavez brought up about construction. And I agree with some of the speakers. The alleyway is a big concern, and as stipulated in the condition, there's going to be a traffic calming and traffic study that specifically addresses that area. I would suggest that we as a city look at the entire block between Primrose and Temple City Boulevard to consider traffic from a holistic perspective and not simply look at the project in a vacuum. And so there has been some suggestions from the residents out there. Some of them may have merit, but I think, I truly believe that we need to follow the process, we need to follow our guidelines, and we need to do an objective study to ensure that, safety is not compromised for our residents as this project moves forward.
Thank you. I echo my fellow council members' opinion, but I may have put a different emphasis on it. But first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for your input. It is very encouraging to see so many of you, my fellow citizens, my neighbor, all of you come out to speak. Even though our conclusion at the end of the day may or may not be 100% coincide, but I can assure you what you have said tonight hasn't gone like Councilmember Chavez has said, not gone on deaf ear. The city has several other parcels of land close by that we have purchased. We have a lot of plans, good plans for these parcels. It may be an open space, it may be more parking. So what the sentiment that you've expressed tonight will go a long way to help us make good decisions. So I encourage you all to continue doing so. Allow everybody to speak, whether they agree or disagree. Now, Councilmember Chavez brought up a very great point, and I'd like to really emphasize that. This piece of property has been vacant since 1980s. We heard argument about, this will bring crime, this and that. Actually, I will argue the other way. The development cannot take place unless it makes economic sense. And as long as it stay vacant, stay like behind chain link fence, is really an urban blight. I would argue that keeping the place open like that, undeveloped like that, with less traffic, less surveillance at night, it actually doesn't help our crime. While Temple is a very safe city, it's our job as city council, as citizens of the city, to look out for the future. Does this piece of property being kept vacant for the next 30 years, 50 years, going to help our city? I would argue not. But however, at the same time, we need to make it so that it's economically feasible, and yet at the same time balanced with the interests of the community. I think the project before us tonight has done exactly that. Councilmember Menon mentioned, the density of the site, the way parcels are developed, the development standards, they all actually gone through, they're really the product of public hearings. And what we're going through right now, the General Plan Advisory Committee is doing, the General Plan Update, is precisely that. And a lot of the sentiment that we heard tonight, a lot of the things being said tonight, really should be rightly, while they do apply, and while it's your opinion about the project, they really should be incorporated into our General Plan Update. And I strongly advise all of you to get involved in that process, because we'll be concluding that shortly. I think within the next year or so, we'll be concluding that general plan exercise. So if lower density what you want, I think you need to let your voice be heard. But as been articulated, this piece of property is a very unique property. It's situated in one of the largest thoroughfare in the city, besides Rosemary Boulevard, and here we have Temple City, a major artery, and it's a pretty sizable, and it's one of the rare opportunity where we can actually bring some real development into Temple City. You know, when we talk to residents, so many of you have told us, well, we really want you to bring downtown livable, walkable, bring the retail shops, bring so many things back. But unfortunately, there are certain things that go along with that. Having a open piece of concrete sitting there doesn't help us our endeavor in that regard. So having a development like that would really give us a good tool to help bring back a good downtown. Now, speaking of mixed-use projects, it has been articulated before. The pure commercial project like Community Square is very, very difficult to come by. We worked on that project for so many years, and we still to this day have trouble filling the entire place with retail stores. About the only thing you can land these days seem to me like restaurants, because that's probably the only thing that you cannot buy from Amazon, right? So, we are limited in what we can do with this new economy, and a mixed-use project is probably the most economically makes the most sense to the developer and also urban design-wise to a city. Now, I know a lot of you are concerned about the height of the project, myself too, and I appreciate the developer had taken a much taller project and working with staff to reduce it down to a level. And I tested it myself. This, by pushing the building back by the 30-some feet of setback, because we do not see things parallel like this. We look at things as a visual cone. So I have tested it out. I've drawn a picture for myself, a little diagram. And assuming you're standing at the house across the street at the front door, the height of this building is no higher than a 44 feet tall building that is not setback. Because they pull it sufficiently back, the perceived height of the building is much, much lower. I think, Mr. Abe, in your 3D animation, I think that's what we really should be. And that's a true animation. That's a true way of how you would see the building. We see things in 3 dimensions. We don't look at it straight on, like the elevation would have scared you. So that's one aspect on the height. The project, like staff had explained, it helped us in fulfilling some of the housing elements requirement had imposed on us by the state. The states want denser building. So this project helps us. And there were comments about school enrollment that this is going to add to a lot of stress on the school system. I think some of that may have been misinformation, because as far as I know, all the school districts, including Temple City Unified, has a slow decline in student enrollment. There is not more student. School districts struggling with fewer students, and they're struggling with school closures. Not our school district, so you didn't hear from me, but other school districts are closing their schools. I hear comments about sidewalk, folks walking by. Well, if anything else, the development will help us infuse new dollar and fix up sidewalks and fix up streets. It will help us bringing a central plaza, even though albeit it's a little small element, but it's going to bring an opportunity for some landscaping, much needed landscaping. I would much rather look at a plaza provided by this development, the architecture by this element, than chain link fence that don't look like anything. There were comments about, I'm worried about my kids walking by, if building's going to collapse on them. I can assure you that our modern building codes are pretty safe. If we can build 100-some story building, we can definitely build a 4-story building. And I can assure you, city staff, our city engineer, our planners going to make sure that this project is going to be a very successful project. And as far as concerns about infrastructure, and again, I trust that our city engineer, our city staff, our planner staff is going to make sure that that the infrastructure is not overly stressed. And lastly, for a project that is really in the middle of an R3 zone, it is just a matter of time where there will be more development in Temple City. It's really just a matter of time where building with more height will be there. It is not forming a precedent, but it is really a result of general plans that were done before even us were on the planning commission, before we were on the city council. It's exactly what Councilmember Mann has talked about. The general plan that was passed, general plan dictates what this project can be. The downtown specific plan was done back in 2002. The general plan that we're talking about today in 2016 is going to determine what this place will look like in 2050. So I encourage all of you to participate. I understand a lot of your concerns, but I believe that with the project being totally self-contained, with the parking, it's going to provide more parking than's needed. It's going to provide needed retail spaces. We're going to provide some sidewalk infrastructure improvements. I think it's a win-win so we don't need to be looking at that piece of concrete for another 30 years. We're going to have some real good. The architecture is nice. I commend Mr. Lee for his design. It's better, in my opinion, than some of the projects that we've talked about elsewhere. So I think I can support this project.
Okay, Mayor Yu, then I would offer a motion that we adopt resolution number 16-5211, adopting a mitigated negative declaration and approving the conditional use permit, the tentative tract map, and the major site plan review subject to conditions of approval.
I believe we have one other condition that staff had put on.
Was additional condition number 43?
Which is?
That had to do with the hours of construction?
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
the
And
one that
noise?
you asked.
And included in that as well.
Okay.
Second?
If moved and seconded, Madam Clerk, would you
Yes,
do a
Mayor.
roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Mann?
Yes.
Mayor Yu?
Yes. So this project has passed, and again, I want to appreciate and thank everyone for coming. And your opinion matters. Moving on to the next item, which is communications. There is none. Update from Mr. City Manager.
Mayor, you members of the council, considering it's 10:20, I'll be brief. Some good news this morning. The County Board of Supervisors approved the appropriation of $1.95 million for funding for the matching contribution by the city. The county actually appropriated that funding today. We will work with the County Board of Supervisors CEO's office and the Community Development Commission to develop a funding agreement and an MOU that comes from that. So I'm sorry that the members of the ad hoc are not here, Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist and Councilmember Fish, but let you all know this morning, so that was a great step forward in that process.
Great news, great news.
Thank you,
Indeed.
thank you, Mayor. Also today, we had a very successful coffee with the captain. I was actually speaking to a patrol class in East LA this morning, talking, and we're going to have 2 new deputies joining the Temple Station very soon. But a very successful event with Captain Jacob, and that was her second coffee with the captain since she's been our captain for the last 2 years. And a very successful event. We really appreciate it. Lastly, we will be having our normal Halloween event coming up before our next council meeting. We will have Hocus Pocus in Live Oak Park with our health fair on the 29th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Our little pumpkin patch from 10 a.m. till 12. Our trick or treat trot from noon to 2.
Say
Our-
that 10 times real fast.
No, thank you, sir. And then our regular Halloween Spooktacular on Monday, October 31st from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Yes, Live Oak Park is a bit torn up right now, but they are making accommodations to deal with still having that event. So a lot happening between now and the end of the year. Thank you to staff, park staff, for this past weekend, an excellent fall festival, our most successful car show with some of the arts and crafts being brought back. Feedback I've gotten is one of the more successful in the last few years. So Parks and Rec staff is moving along very quickly. And lastly, I know staff is gone, but great work on staff's part. We've had a lot of success in the last, I'd say, month or so. And so much of that has to do with the excellent staff work that happens on a day in and day out basis, and also the leadership and the ability that you as the council give us to fulfill your policies and your direction as well. So thank you to them. That will conclude my report for this
All right,
evening,
thank
Mayor.
you. Thank you. Update from our Mr. City Manager, Mr. Vea.
Mayor, anticipating that the last item was going to go late like it did, I didn't plan anything for this this evening. I can have something for you next week, or
All
next
right.
meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is the council report regarding ad hoc standing committee meetings. Any report back? No? Next item is council items separate from the city manager's regular agenda. Mr. Chavez?
Thank you, Mayor Yu. Just echo our city manager's comments about the Fall Festival. Thank Debbie Ingram and Director Kathy Burrows for a great event, and also Temple City's Unified School District. It is a joint effort, and they did a fantastic job. A lot of people were here. A lot of people had a great time, and weather was fantastic. So good job all the way around. Also, just want to give a shout out to Karen Johnson from our Personnel Department. Is that
Yeah,
is
personnel and
we all attended our JPIA, our Joint Powers Insurance Authority annual conference last week in Indian Wells, and she was honored as one of five out of all of our 130 members, recognized for her work in risk management on behalf of the city. First time that I can recall that anybody from our city has ever been so honored. So congratulations to her, and keep up the good work. And so an honor well deserved. So kudos to her.
We'll honor her at a future council meeting.
Great. Perfect.
Councilman Mimmin?
Thank you.
I'll just be brief. This Thursday, we have the last Neighborhood Watch meeting for this year. It'll be at Area 10 Clemenson School off of Daleview Avenue. That's all I have.
All right. I want to echo Councilmember Chavez's note about Karen Johnson, but not only that she deserved the commendation of being the finalist, I think it also speaks volumes to the fact that our city is practicing best practice out there regarding risk management. And also shout out to Councilmember Chavez for donating his time as the executive director of JPIA, the Joint Powers Insurance Authority. So watching out for the interest and welfare for all the cities and communities. So moving on, next item, reimbursement of expenses to city officials. There is none. And additional public comments. Seeing none, I'll close public comments. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Good night.